The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the New Media Factory. Some programs on this network might include strong images and language and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Would you come if I asked you to ride with me on this one-way road that leads? Well, I don't know, but I will take you anywhere you see. I know what you need, and what you've done is exactly what I
Good afternoon. Welcome to Counterflow. We are live here at Beyond the Box in Rockwell. I'm James Deacon. With me, Ryan Cruz and Alan Ranch Sevilla. Yes. This is Counterflow. We're going to go live all the way until about... till they start waving us down, like the MMDA. The guys behind the cameras, they always do this, you know.
Usually we're given 40 minutes, but we always go over the
Well, that's why, Alan, we've invited Ryan here early, because last week, if anyone was watching the show last week, they would have noticed that we talked to Ryan about F1, and I completely underestimated the kind of depth that he was going to get into. And we gave him, 15 minutes, and that didn't even cover the first tire wear thing.
You found someone just like you, James.
No. Nosebleed. It was even far worse than I was getting nosebleed. No, and it's a good in a way. We're going to dedicate most of the show, about 90% of the show, to F1. So we have a pretty exciting season that's unfolding. We're going to be talking to Ryan, and we'll be taking your calls and your tweets and your. We've got a Skype account now. You can actually interact with us. It'll be really good if you guys are out there. Want to ask Ryan or myself or Alan a question, or just share your views. You know, this is a democracy here. We're over the internet, so we can pretty much broadcast just about any language on the air. So we've got a Skype account called Mr. Counterflow. That's MR Counterflow, no dot. They just basically look for us on Skype, call. We've got somebody there to answer the Skype, and then we'll put you on air. Also, at JDeacon72 on Twitter, and we can also look forward to getting your messages there.
How about the landline?
Of course, Facebook. Okay. And Facebook. We can also go with the landline, which is 478-7954. All right. It'll make a difference. Let's try this out, you know. You might want to text already one or two stooges to call us first, just to get it going, because you know we've never really taken calls on the show, and it really adds a whole different dynamic to it.
First time?
It will be the first time, if ever. I mean, my mom calls, but that's just check up on me, you know. Sometimes the guard calls, sir, yung kotse mo nasa labas na naman, may nahayang na naman yan, you know. But actual live callers, like genuine Counterflow listeners, and I know there's at least 20,000 of you out there, because that's the average download now, is 20,000 every
that's
episode.
amazing.
Yeah, I know.
How many of those are you? Different computers.
Probably half.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, before we get started on F1, a little update on the NASCAM episode that I've been talking about for a few weeks. There was a deadline today for the check that was issued to one of the racers to cover the amount that was borrowed in Charlotte Speedway to cover the balance of the
other driver. Was it the other driver?
And no, actually, it was more the balance of the NASCAR racing experience. So when they went there, the thing wasn't paid for. There was a deposit made, but there was a balance outstanding, considering that the initial contract was for 10 drivers and only 3 ended up driving. You can imagine what kind of a deposit. Anyway, they asked Carlos Anton for $260,000.
Plus, they already shelled out money, right?
They already shelled out money. Yeah. That's why it was a loan, not a...
So it's one check for $260.
One check for $260. I'm not sure about whether John Marcello also had a check. I tried to get a hold of him today, but I know for a fact Carlos was given a post-dated check for the 27th, which is today. And so, of course, I wanted to follow up, and that check didn't clear. And he was called last night to say, please do not deposit that check. So
he was called, or was he texted?
He was called up last night.
That's actually better.
Of course it's better.
No, I mean, because if it's under the law, if you inform someone that your check is going to bounce, it from a criminal offense becomes a civil offense.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but it has to be in writing or maybe a sent message in your phone. That's admissible now.
I don't think.
But if it was verbal, he can just deny that he made the call.
Well, somebody like Carlos is a decent guy, so I mean, if I were,
make that up.
no, not just that. I mean, if he wasn't decent, he'd just deposit it and wait for it to bounce. Yeah.
Actually, that's one way to find out if he really does have the funds there or not.
Yeah, exactly. No, he actually called him up and told him,
Or he
"Don't
just
do it
doesn't
because
wanna-
there is nothing in there."
What did the guy say that don't deposit? When did he say a date?
I think he's trying to buy another week.
Oh my god!
So
that's bad.
anyway, that's the update on the whole NASCAR thing.
And let's not forget, he had dinner. Was it dinner at Ramen Yushokan yesterday?
That didn't come from me.
Yeah, got it. We won't say where, but there was he was having dinner, so lunch somewhere or dinner somewhere, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, look who's here." I said, "You better get the money in advance."
And that's crazy. You always hang out there, James.
Yeah, imagine. I always hang out there too. Be like, before he orders, make sure that the cash is on the table. Okay, so there we go with that. We'll pretty much dedicate this whole show to F1, like I said, because I think we're in for. It wasn't a very exciting race if you were just a casual fan. It had long periods of nothing really happening, but we had two safety cars. Let's give us your take, Ryan, on the Monaco Grand Prix.
Well, there was a lot of controversy before the race because news came out that Mercedes had tested secretly with Pirelli for 1,000 kilometers without the knowledge of the other teams. So, a lot of people were wanting to see how it would affect the race or if the results would stand.
But Vettel came up with something I think was quite interesting. He said it had nothing to do with the test, right?
No.
Statement. He made a statement of some sort.
Yeah, and I don't think it would affect. It would affect the Mercedes package this early. It would be too quick for them to react. It happened after Barcelona. And in a span of 2 weeks, you can't just produce another aerodynamic package.
And somebody like Ross Brawn is so clever about things like this that he did it with the double diffuser, right? With the Brawn in 09.
Right.
And every team complained.
Yeah.
But he had interpreted the rules to the absolute letter.
Correct.
In such a way that other team principals couldn't see or technical directors couldn't see. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he knows something that the other teams don't know about exploiting this testing program that they did after Barcelona.
Right. Well, the FIA is saying now that Pirelli is allowed to test up to 1,000 kilometers as long as all the other teams are given the same equal chance. Now, if you will, for example, assume that all the teams will take this chance, 1,000 kilometers divided by the number of teams, that's not even 100 kilometers.
Oh, wait, the 1,000 is collectively?
Yes.
Oh, come on, seriously?
Yes. Up to 1,000
Collectively for all the
yes.
teams. So there's nothing in there that says, if I grab, it's like walking up to the buffet and saying, guys, this is for everybody, but you're the first guy and you just ate everything.
Correct. So aside from that, they're not allowed to test a 2013 car. So it's not really. So you won't be surprised if Ross Brawn is saying now the other teams were asked to test, but they never really accepted the offer. It comes as no surprise to me because the test has to be done under Pirelli's terms as well.
Wow, so Pirelli has to be there.
Pirelli has to be there. It has to be under their terms on what is to be tested. So you can't really test the aero package of the car. You have to measure the tires.
Okay, so the race itself, you don't think it had too much effect on the race. So going by, we all kind of expected pole. I think we talked about this last week. We were both assuming that Mercedes would be very strong, but I didn't know if they would be able to convert it to a win. But I did say that I think we're going to see the highest finish of a Mercedes-Benz this year so far because it's a track that really, well, it's not high downforce. It's a track that's not that punishing on the tires. So all they had to do was stay in front, dictate the pace, which they did, right?
They did. Well, mechanically and aerodynamically, it actually demands a lot from the car. But it's not abrasive. It's not an abrasive circuit. It's a road surface. The difference, of course, is that the roads in Monaco are crowned instead of slanted. There's a difference.
Crown meaning like a...
In the middle.
Wow. Wow.
Because usually road surfaces are crowned so that the water flows off.
Yeah,
the water flows off. And circuits usually slanted.
In Monaco's case, champagne.
Yes.
Just like what happened with Massa. That's crazy because
that's crazy.
he got into an accident same spot, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
the day
it was the
before.
same spot.
It was
the same.
Soundboat, yeah.
Soundboat.
And you know what's scary about it? It actually reminded me of the fatal accident of Ayrton Senna, where he had no control. Of course, the distance here was much shorter, but the way he went off without any control whatsoever. of the
He
car.
went off, but he went off.
Very
That was a big
small.
It was a side impact
Yes.
versus Senna's,
Yes.
which was
Well, it was sort of Senna's was more of like a front right impact.
yeah. The impact of Massa was kind of scary. I
Yeah.
mean, like that was really
And did you see his face? He looked stunned
Right,
the whole
right.
time.
both times.
Yeah, they
right?
had to give
Yeah,
him a neck
both
brace.
times. Yeah.
You know what? I think okay, not to get too far off topic, but I think this could be the thing that just finally shakes Massa's confidence to a certain level of. I mean, really, we all thought about it with when he got hit with
Right,
the
the
spring.
Yeah.
Now this twice in the same weekend,
Right.
a shunt as big as that, that's
Same
really gonna.
spot, too. It's
Yeah,
just, wow.
that's got to do something to a driver's
With
confidence.
no control. With no control of the driver.
Okay, let's dissect certain things. Perez.
Okay.
Perez, wow.
Okay, what he did to Button was, I thought, fair.
You know, Perez is making it appear that it's almost like Jacques Villeneuve never left F1.
And Montoya.
Actually, during the
And,
interview, you know what he said? That he didn't. Who's this guy? Raikkonen didn't leave room. That's why he hit him at the rear left
I read that.
tire.
Yes, I read that. But what was funny also was the interview by RTL
Yeah.
to Raikkonen, because they were asking him about his side
He
of
isn't
the
happy.
story.
He isn't happy. Right?
Yeah, he isn't happy, and he said, and the reporter asked him.
Wait.
So,
This is going back to Perez?
yes,
Okay,
to
well,
Perez. So RTL asked Raikkonen what he thought about the incident from his point of view, and he said, you know, he tried to make a move on me. I closed it. I closed it the previous lap. He did it again, and well, there was just no room. I was about to turn in, which if you look at the replays,
Yeah.
you know, the rule is you have to present at least half
at
your
least
car.
half.
And you also, aside
You're
from
right,
that,
right
that's
about that.
fine. But there's also, like Eric Boyer was saying, about understanding the science of braking.
Yes.
You can't just do it go-kart style.
Correct.
I'm halfway across because, not even go-kart, but Gran Turismo style. You just, hey, I mean, if you just
Right.
brake a second after
Right.
the guy, you will eventually get half a car.
Yes.
But yes, he had no possible way to make that corner without pushing Kimi into
Yes.
doing a similar thing that Alonso did to avoid an impact, which cost him
In
a
fact,
place.
Kimi was saying that even if he wasn't there, he wouldn't have made the corner.
He was just too fast.
He was just too fast
yeah.
for
Too
the corner.
fast, too aggressive.
So if you look at the way Perez overtook Button and Kimi, they're actually quite similar. He just braked so hard to present himself
Yeah.
at the corner and just hope that they will
That's
get
what
out
you
of the
said.
way.
That you said to present himself.
Yes.
Assuming I'm now here.
Yes.
And then roll out the red carpet and move out of the way.
Yes.
What do you
And
want?
that's what he did because I think he was successful with Alonso.
And Button.
Alonso went, whoa.
Right.
Yeah, and Button. So when Alonso said, okay, wait, it's either I cut the chicane or we have
Yeah,
impact.
right, yeah.
Right.
And then he cut the chicane and he was penalized. Okay, now going through the, so you feel he was just overdriving
I feel he
the
was
car. He was too aggressive.
I feel he was over aggressive. Again, he didn't present himself properly.
What about on
he presented
Button?
himself to the rear tire of Raikkonen. That's what he did. But going back to the interview,
And he'll have to present himself to the FIA. Stewards at some point, right?
because they asked Raikkonen, is it something that you want to sit down with the other drivers to discuss to him? He goes, no, I think it's better if someone just punch him in the face.
He said that?
Yeah, he really is.
Kimmy! You gotta love Kimmy, dude. This is what we're talking about.
Maybe it's
The
because he lost a
Iceman.
lot of points in the championship
He
points
did.
to Vettel.
He did.
He absolutely
He was
did.
the biggest loser of the day,
Yeah.
actually, with at no fault of his own.
Yeah.
True. And he's right up there in the championship battle because okay, so Perez, if you were with Marsh now, remember he started doing this because he said you need to show more aggression.
Right.
Okay.
It was just too much aggression.
All right.
It's crazy.
What do you do now? Do you honestly, let's try to put our personal feelings aside because I know I'm also upset with Perez, but do you think he's got flashes of Senna or brilliance, just needs to be polished? Is he a diamond, a rough diamond?
Personally, when I found out that Perez was transferring to McLaren, I felt that, McLaren, I'm a bit disappointed in McLaren, first of all, because
Okay.
their philosophy has always been the fastest drivers, the best drivers, and the best car. And in 2007, they had the fastest driver, who was Lewis Hamilton, and the best driver for me, who was Fernando Alonso. And guess what? They also had Adrian Newey, who they let go to Red Bull.
Yeah.
So for me, after that period, they just let go of things slowly, and then now they have Button and Perez. Button, I feel, has flashes of brilliance, but is inconsistent.
He's a great driver to have.
He's a whiner, right?
Well,
he's
this season he is. Yeah, actually, I've never pegged Button as a whiner.
Correct.
Yeah, but this year it's crazy.
Because Button's one thing super polished about Button is his media skills and his communication skills. So he doesn't come across as a whiner. But this year, yes, it's
because when you say whiner, I remember Alonso back in Renault in 2005 and 06.
But then back then, did you feel that he had something to whine about because he felt the entire FIA was against him?
Yeah.
So he was like, he had to scream. But Button, is coming across. It's a fine line because sometimes Perez pulls some pretty good moves on him, and you got to be man enough to say. So I cut him some slack in was that Shanghai it was Bahrain where he hit the back, right? Was it Bahrain where he hit the back of Button?
I believe so.
They were dueling, and then he hit the back of Button. I cut Button some slack in that race because I felt, okay, he got overtaken by Perez. This is where Carlos Slim was in the audience. So I cut him slack because Button's the kind of person that had to make a more mature decision, not knowing how wild this guy could get. That, look, if this was Kimi I was fighting with or Lewis, we would go toe-to-toe the whole time. I would millimeter perfect. But this guy was so reckless. He's already hit me. I mean, it's either I concede just to keep both cars in the points because he's just too hot-headed. And he kept saying, calm him down, calm him down, calm him down. But then after a while, I think I've also seen that Perez has had the measure of Button in some situations. But this Monaco Grand Prix showed that he's too aggressive. He's just way too aggressive.
Overly aggressive. Some people might say he's trying too hard.
I think he's trying
they needed someone. Of course, they wanted him to be more aggressive in the first place because they needed someone like Hamilton to complement the driving style of Button. He's someone who's consistent, who's a little more on the safe side.
Yeah.
But it turns out he might actually ruin the relationship inside the team.
I think yes, because Hamilton and Button had a fantastic relationship,
Correct.
and
Button's a great guy.
And he is. He's notoriously one of the best guys to get along with. And then you had over 3 years. There was actually Button outscored Hamilton in the 3-year partnership.
Correct.
Only by a little bit.
Correct. About 47 points, I think.
Yeah, 600 out of
Which is
670.
about less than 2 races.
Yeah, less than 2 races. So it goes to show that Button is really Mr. Consistent. Lewis Hamilton had that one bad year in 2011, I believe, and he really lost his mind. This is what I'm worried about, to shift gears a little bit. This is what I'm worried about with Hamilton now being kind of beaten thoroughly by Rosberg.
Correct.
Do you think this is is this the kind of thing that's going to either make or break Hamilton? Because it broke him in 2011 when...
Well, they say that drivers at this level have to be really mentally strong.
Yeah.
And he's won a world championship. If this is going to affect him, then you got to question his drive. But you're right, no? Hamilton was thrown in there, and everyone was expecting him to show Rosberg how it's really done, so to speak. But instead, he is actually making Rosberg shine even more now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then this was the question mark over everybody's when Schumacher came in.
Correct.
When Schumacher came in, everyone said, okay, well, this is a true test, whatever. But then when Rosberg was dominating Schumacher, they were like, okay, Schumacher's past his prime.
Right.
But now, I think I posted something on Facebook. I think you might have also commented that this partnership between Hamilton has also unearthed another fact, which was Schumacher was still damn good.
Right.
Because if Rosberg's doing this to Hamilton at his prime with no gap in between, like he's never left F1, and he's coming from a world champ, well, not the last year, but this is Hamilton we're talking about. It goes to show that Rosberg is a world-class championship contender, or capable of winning a championship, and Schumacher was not all that far past his use-by date.
Right, because just to deviate a little bit on the subject of Schumacher, you had a lot of people giving their inputs. They were saying that during Schumacher's time, the class of the field wasn't that as great as it is now. Only Mika Hakkinen was a truly great driver who rivaled Michael Schumacher, except for Fernando Alonso during the tail end of his career. And they were saying the car was built around him. The reason why he was struggling in the midfield was because he was never really used to battling against all the midfielders. He was always out in the front, leading the pack. So But then again, how many of these drivers can you say will perform as good as he did, especially now that you see Rosberg performing when they're in their mid-40s?
Well, that's a good point. Absolutely. All right, so we've covered the Hamilton and Rosberg battle. Do you think, just would you answer that question for me? Do you think that Hamilton can bounce back? Is he just having a bad... Okay, Monaco, at best, he would have gotten second.
Yeah. If it weren't for the unfortunate tire stopper, he had to wait for Rosberg.
Yeah, so...
It was clear, James, that he was faster than the Red Bull guys.
Who, Hamilton?
Hamilton,
Yes,
yeah.
but then in the
He
track
was
like
just
Monte
stuck there,
Carlo, I mean,
yeah.
they can really... You can be as far as 2 seconds off the pace
Right.
and control the field, right?
Correct.
I mean, we've seen that there is passing in Monte Carlo,
Yeah.
but a clever driver will know exactly when he can bunch up the field and when he can't leave himself open. Like
Right.
the tunnel is a great...
Right.
Yeah.
After the tunnel is a perfect opportunity to... you really start to need to get onto it, especially after the Mirabeau...
But there's always a big risk in Monaco. Anywhere there.
Always.
Once you over
Well, we've
there,
seen
it's-
that. Okay,
it's
so
crazy.
the big accidents there were Massa,
Maldonado.
Yeah, Massa.
Maldonado, yeah,
Maldonado,
that was pretty bad. And let's not forget Wreck-It Remain.
Grosjean.
Wreck-It Remain is in fine form again. I've heard rumors.
It's funny how the people who you kind of expect to make an error are actually the same people who do.
Yeah, you're thinking this is too obvious. My money's not. It's too obvious to put money on this guy, and bang, he did it. He's consistent.
Yeah.
There's a rumor I heard just verbally, so I didn't read anything, but that he's going to be replaced. I heard this from a French friend of mine who really follows in depth the French news, and there he was saying that the reports are showing that he will probably be replaced within the season. Okay, and I'm starting a rumor it's going to be Marlon Stockinger. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see how far that one goes. No. I think Marlon. We'll pause for F1 just for a brief while because Marlon also raced on the same weekend. Sadly, not a very good race for Marlon. Did you follow the results? Were you able to?
No,
up
actually,
with it?
I wasn't able to.
Well, okay. Very confusing setup because I posted, I took a screenshot of his qualifying where he qualified 8th in Monaco, which I thought was very good. You know, I was very proud. Turns out he qualified 8th in his session because there's 26, I think, cars in the Renault World Series.
All right.
What they do so they don't have traffic is they break them up into 2 groups, Group A and Group B. So about 12 of them or 10 of them qualified in Group A and then the rest qualified in Group B. Then it's not just a matter anymore of the times. Somehow the Group A line up on one side of the group.
Okay.
So
Well,
okay,
that's how it goes.
yeah, I can't get my head around it. But basically, the effective starting position for Marlon on the track was 16th. Turn 1, he got hit in the back, and he was out. So he didn't even make it for 1 lap. He made 1 corner, and that's it. Got hit in the back, spun out, car was off. He went home. And that's really heartbreaking because there's only 1 race in Monaco for World Series versus the other meets that they have. The other weekends, they have 2 races. And so he didn't have a chance to bounce back. But his teammate, I believe, finished 2nd place. So that's going to be
Who's his teammate?
Sorensen. He's
Sorensen,
from Denmark. And so that's an update on Marlon Stockinger. But, you know, we've seen great drivers. Kimi had a bad race.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
he
right.
scored
That's
1
racing.
point.
Right.
It's part of it. He'll
It's part
bounce
of it.
back.
And it's...
But at least he still keeps the record of consistently being in the points.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, he minimized the damage there. Okay, so we've the highlights of Monaco so far were, of course, Rosberg's dominant win. He really controlled that field. I have to give credit to Rosberg because a lot of people say, well, you know, he's in front, it's Monaco, it's tough. Yes, but the guy had to start 3 times.
Yep.
Right.
3 times. You know, under a safety car, they say the pressure can sometimes be far worse than a standing start because it's about controlling the pace of the field,
Right.
knowing exactly, because everyone's trying to get that momentum, and that momentum is unlike a start. Okay, you have the reaction time, but everyone's pretty much got similar reaction times, and as long as your clutch bites and everything, you should get off at the same thing. But if a car, even a slower car than you, gets on the gas earlier, and you've misjudged it or he's timed it perfectly, he can cross that line and be like 7 car lengths or 3 car lengths ahead of you by the first corner.
Right, and let's not forget this is Monaco. Mentally, it's very draining for them to be just driving around the track, and for the rhythm to be restarted several times in a race, it's actually very difficult for them.
It is actually.
But what's surprising, James, after the race, did you see how he looked? He looked fresh as a daisy.
Right.
Rosberg was just, I think he didn't feel any pressure at all during the race.
I think he did, but I think the elation
Yeah.
when you win, I think everything just, you probably shed 10 years off your biological
show.
age. Yeah, because
Look
it's just
fresh.
that the one cool down lap.
Yeah.
Remember, Rosberg has lived in Monaco all his life.
Right.
Okay.
He grew up there, he's with his father, and it was on the anniversary of his father's.
Yes, 30th anniversary. And this wasn't mentioned, but it's actually, I follow a website called Stats F1. It was actually also the second win of Nico Rosberg. Can you believe that?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, do you think Rosberg now has... What's up for Rosberg now? I mean, do you think the big teams are going to be like, he's on the radar now? This guy is
Yes.
Ferrari material.
There could certainly be some reshuffling, but going back to Perez, he's actually one of the biggest keys to the driver market. How well he performs or he doesn't perform could certainly shuffle around things. Now, going back to Rosberg and Schumacher, you were saying, he was outdoing Schumacher performance-wise, but he wasn't really regarded as top-level Formula One driver before. They were saying, okay, at the top you have Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, maybe Button, and then the next up, Kimi. Then you have Webber and all the rest of the other guys like Massa. And, Rosberg was somewhere around there. And Webber's level maybe. And now he's proving that he isn't.
Absolutely.
He's really up there with the best of them. And you're absolutely right. He could certainly go to the other teams when their contracts run out or if they don't perform.
So, would you, if you were a team principal, would you put him in Ferrari? Because Ferrari, I think that would be a bad partnership.
Right.
I don't think that would be a healthy partnership.
Rosberg and Alonso. I think Button and Rosberg would do very well.
He's
I
more
think
of an
Button and
equalizer.
Alonso would also do very well.
Back at McLaren though, I don't think he's coming back to Ron Dennis.
Wait, no, Button and Alonso, meaning Button goes to Ferrari.
Button goes to
Yeah,
Ferrari.
no, I wasn't thinking the other way around. You're getting mad, no. Because, I mean, all right.
He's gonna have to shave his head again.
Somebody, I was talking to Peter Windsor during that event where you met him, and he was saying that Alonso needs to have complete control over the team. I mean, he's earned that, but he can't have somebody nipping at his heels. So Rosberg would be snapping away. That's why, because I asked him about Massa. I said, what's the deal with Massa? And he said, why? What's the problem with Massa? He said, well, I said, have you been watching F1 recently? Have you met? And then his point to me was, he said, James, you know what? It's not... There's a big misunderstanding in Formula 1 or misconception that you need two of the best drivers to win. That is just rubbish. It's the worst formula you can have. You do not put two of the best drivers in the team, which is what you're saying the McLaren does.
McLaren's
And
philosophy.
McLaren has showed how many championships have they lost by doing that.
Correct.
I can just go back to 2007 and say that was a perfect example of Peter Windsor's point that two of the best drivers should not work together. You need to find a dynamic. One's got to really be alpha male in that thing. He's got to feel it. And Alonso... But I think, okay, Massa, because he said Massa makes a perfect number 2 driver. I said, so why is he a number 15 driver? Because he's always down there. He's not backing up Alonso. I can understand having a wingman, but hey, be there and collect the points. Be right under me. Or maybe if I'm first, you're third or fourth. Protect me. How can you protect me from the back markers? That's all you're doing. He's down there fighting for 12th. Yeah, I got you covered here. Fernando,
Are you saying, James, this is the last year of Massa? Do you
that's.
think?
I asked Peter Windsor, and he said no. I think Ferrari like it this way. Okay, they would want Massa to improve, but I would say yes. If I had to go on record, I'd say this is the last year for Massa.
I feel the same way.
I think he's, especially after this accident, I don't see how he's going to be able to get his head around. It does incredible things to your confidence. You lost it twice in the same spot, in the same race, of the same weekend. And you've just been dominated by Alonso. I mean, completely, utterly, totally dominated. He did start the year okay, though, and end the year last year with 4 qualifyings in a row that were about to... But
When his job was in danger, he started improving dramatically.
But surely he has to know his job's been in danger for a long
Obviously.
time.
Actually, if it probably weren't for Nicolas Stott, his manager, he probably would have been out of Ferrari long before that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's... I don't know what watertight deal that pact they made with the guy downstairs or whatever, but yeah, Nicolas Stott still has obviously the clout. And Jean Todt, of course, in case you don't know, is the father of Nicolas Todt, who heads the FIA. Not that we're saying there's a conspiracy there, but there is politics there, of course. All right. So if I was going to do this, I would probably put. I think Mercedes is on the cusp of something big, though, so I could probably leave Rosberg there. Because don't you think with the V6 they've got the advantage?
Well, it's very hard to tell with the tire situation. I mean, going back to the tires, with the V6s, yeah, I would expect them to do very well in terms of engine development.
They are going to be supplying quite a number of teams, including Williams. I think signed a deal.
I believe it's how many teams have they?
I believe
can't
Williams
actually
has signed it,
remember.
and Honda have signed too, but that's 2015. I think.
2015, and they're actually
Honda's back.
trying to push the turbo engines back to 2015. They're making a lobby. That's what I heard.
Okay, and they are looking to partner with McLaren, right?
Right.
That's a McLaren-Honda partnership, which of course remind the viewers
Of course, of Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, that's one of the most historic and celebrated partnerships in F1.
Yeah.
So that's coming back in 2015. Also now in the grid, so we've got in the standings, Vettel was the biggest winner, I think, of this whole Monaco Grand Prix because he gave away points to somebody that's really not in the hunt.
Right.
Of course,
Alonso and Kimi didn't do very well as compared to
I was
Vettel.
surprised with Alonso's performance. I was shocked.
Okay, yeah, that's another thing.
That's something that we have
Okay.
to talk about.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's still an
wow.
open wound. So
I couldn't understand.
by that stage, I started downing the beers like really fast because I was getting depressed. Was there tell me something as a fan to make me feel a bit better? Like he was given orders by somebody. Why was he getting passed left, right, and center?
Oh, I wish I could tell you that, but I guess the car just wasn't suited to this circuit. But I expected them to do well too.
Okay, in the last stages, he got passed by.
Well, he got. But Sutil actually
Sutil.
passed two world champions in this race.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
But I believe it was Button and Alonso.
yeah.
Even though he had a slower car.
No, I think the Force India was.
Force India finished 5th and 9th.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they left Monaco really happy.
Yeah, and I think the last time I remember Adrian Sutil was in 5th place in Monaco, he got hit in the back by Kimi Räikkönen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that was going to be Force India's very first points. I remember that they valued that accident somewhere around. They valued that accident somewhere around $50 or $60 million
In terms of the share.
in terms of the share
Because
because
of the standings.
they hadn't scored a point yet in Formula One ever at that stage, and he was running 5th in Monaco, and that was coming out of the tunnel. And it was Kimi's fault. He admitted it. He just went straight into the back of him, and.
Yeah.
That costs the car plus the share of the World Championship points, the share in the shipping costs and stuff like that. So television rights, that was heartbreaking. But he finally got his 5th place back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The big teams to watch. Let's talk about the junior drivers, the younger ones. Who's impressing you right now?
Oh, the rest is quite impressive.
But the rest is actually not
Yeah.
considered anymore.
Correct. And a lot of people are saying that he's there because he's being groomed for Ferrari. That's the big rumor.
You think he's that good? Because I mean,
Well, as a number 2 to Alonso.
That-
If we were to follow the philosophy of, as
yeah.
Peter Windsor said, you don't really need two of the best
okay,
drivers.
Paul is British, right? Peter's British. No, I see where you're going, but you're right. Okay, so what about the other guys? Bianchi, Chilton, Bottas. Who else have I forgotten down the line?
Well, Daniel is not really a rookie
Not anymore, but he's doing well. Well, was
Yeah.
thanks to Wreck-It Romain.
It's quite hard to tell, actually. For me, it's very difficult. It's a bit too early in the season. Still watching out for the younger guys, although they are
They say Bianchi
Yes.
he's the one to watch.
on by virtue of the gap between his teammates.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's hard for regular viewers to follow this, but there is, because when it's a difference sometimes between 18th and 19th place or whatever, but when you're studying the competition between teammates, Bianchi seems to be doing quite well. I didn't really follow. Bottas was a great white hype too, right? Being a Finnish driver, everyone thought that he would do exceptionally well. I think he's doing okay, but yeah, I would like to see Ricardo. I think Ricardo's got a lot of potential.
Right.
Would be great to see him in a Red Bull Mark's seat if Marcus. I think
Following
no
the
matter
footsteps
what,
of
Mark's
Sebastian.
out of there, right? There's no more love lost. I think he would rather race even in the
sports
lower
cars
team.
or DTM.
DTM probably
Yeah.
or Le Mans, but definitely it's not going to be quite. I think he's done there.
Yeah.
He's done, and it's not a healthy environment anymore.
Right.
For
Right.
Mark. All right.
Sorry, I haven't
no.
actually answered your question. Hamilton, yes, I think he'll be able to bounce back. I think he's just figuring out how to drive his way around the car, figuring out the tires as well, tire situation. He did make a statement that I expected Nico to be this fast, but I didn't expect myself to be this slow.
Okay, because in GP2 they were
teammates.
Teammates, and they were. But Hamilton got the better of him. He won the championship, right?
Right.
Did Nico ever win GP2 championship?
I don't believe so, actually.
Okay, 'cause
I might be mistaken, but
I remember 2006. I was there in the paddock when they in Monza when they gave Hamilton his cake. Congratulations, GP2 champion. That was back in 2006. I didn't follow whether Nico actually got one, but that is. I remember him telling Hamilton coming out and saying the one that he feared the most was Sutil. Well,
Really?
of course, well, after the champagne glass incident,
on track or off the track?
everyone's scared of Sutil. No, but he felt Sutil was the strongest other competitor that he could. He said he was just lucky he was in a lower team.
I see.
Do you still see that as the case?
Well, he certainly showed his worth in this race. Yeah. So
And
you'd be
Melbourne.
wondering. Sorry.
In Melbourne this year,
In Melbourne, right?
that
right.
was an outstanding drive from him.
Right. And I guess he felt I guess he had a withdrawal from Formula One for about 18 months.
Yeah, it was
So
18 months. Yeah.
He probably wasn't sure that he was coming, if ever he was coming
No,
back.
I-
So now he's trying to prove that I did something wrong then, and I was given another chance. So I really want to repay these guys back.
Because that is really, that's nobody really gets a second chance like that. It's very, very rare. And
It's
that
very easy to dismiss the rookies, especially at this age.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they took a huge chance because they weren't just going on another driver. They were going against a very controversial driver that made a lot of enemies with a lot of people, especially Eric Lux. That's no joke what happened there. But okay, he's doing fine as a driver right now. Let's go through the top teams right now. Vettel seems to be the strongest competitor for this championship, but I like Kimi's chances in this thing. Do you think he can pull it off?
He's been very consistent. Obviously, it's because of the Lotus has been very easy on the tires. They don't really qualify at the very top for a certain reason. That's because they don't have the fastest car. But they always finish at the top because, as you know, the tire situation now is everything, and they take care of the tires very well.
Did we cover this topic before last week? I'm not sure if we did this on or off the air. Do you think it's already getting artificial? This whole the show is becoming artificial. DRS curves, and then of course this tire thing is just.
I can see why a lot of people would say that, but for me, it's just like poker. A lot of people would say that there's so much luck involved in poker. Yeah. Then why are always the top players always in the final table? You still see the same guys winning. The races.
Because it's how they adapt to it.
Correct.
But okay, let's say a point that Albert would make would be that this is getting too much.
Well, to a certain point, Dietrich has said you're not driving again to the pace of the car, but to the pace of the tires. They're
Which
having to
is
change their lines.
Fundamentally, a little bit off
Correct.
F1, right?
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
wouldn't in an ideal world, an F1 car is driven 100% of the driver's capability
Right.
and 100% capability of the car.
So, if you were to ask me, maybe Pirelli could reel it back in just a little, not as much as the other teams say. So, again,
Because everyone's going to argue, to suit their car, right? So-
right, and Mercedes is affected the most, and that's probably why they took on the test. If it's true that Pirelli asked all these teams, but hey, they used a 2013 car.
You were mentioning off the air about the strategy that Ross Brawn pulled here in Monaco and how brilliant it was. Just run us through that again.
Oh well, it was very clear early on when Van der Gaard. It was after Van der Gaard hit Maldonado that he had to pit. Okay, then when he came out, I looked at my timing app, and he was doing about 2 seconds a lap faster than the top guy. So it was very clear that they were actually controlling the field, and they were bunching them up so that there would be no gaps. So there would be no chance for Vettel or Red Bull or Ferrari to go in early and come out in clear air.
Yeah, that's one. That's one brilliant strategy. Another thing that's great when you do that is, and only tracks like Monaco you can really exploit it. You want to also keep everyone bunched up so that when you're if somebody's behind me attacking me, somebody's attacking him, and somebody's attacking him.
Right.
So everyone's,
Right.
It's one thing. It's usually the guy who's behind has somewhat of an advantage because he can sort of force you into make a mistake. He can study your lines. He can study your weaknesses. But if he has to defend from the guy behind him,
It's so hard to
And it was
concentrate.
probably better that Hamilton was behind Rosberg because he was a more aggressive blocker. I mean, for the interest of the whole team.
Yeah, he did it.
I saw the way he was pulling away. Rosberg's gap was kind of quite large there,
Right.
and obviously because Hamilton was driving a defensive line, even though they weren't, side by side.
Right, right.
That is really still you drive a different line around Monaco when you got somebody like Sebastian Vettel behind you. Overtake of the race for you?
Probably one of Sutil's moves.
Yeah.
Probably cleaner on Alonso. He was just a few millimeters off. So my money would be on Sutil.
Okay, Sutil, Alan.
Sutil as well, overtaking Button and Alonso.
I would have given it to Hamilton if he pulled it off against Mark Webber.
Yeah, but that didn't quite happen. But that's got to be really heartbreaking for Hamilton. Go back again to why Hamilton ended up in fourth. What was what happened there?
Oh, when the first safety car came out, they obviously had to pit. They had to take advantage of the situation. So both of the Mercedes cars hadn't gone in the pits yet. So they had to use that window right away. So Hamilton had to wait for Rosberg to finish before he went
got
in.
stuck there.
So he got stuck behind.
But then they did this again in which track was that? Or was it Alonso and Massa that double stacked, and then it worked to their favor?
Yeah, but again, because the field was so close together, he came out in fourth. Yeah.
Okay, well that's pretty much all we have time for. See, it's just blown by.
Wow, 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
We're getting the MMDA behind. they're waving at me.
This is the guru.
I'm telling you,
I am just amazed with what this guy knows about F1.
We cannot have an F1 segment anymore.
Without Ryan.
After a show, after a race, I mean, it's going to have to be a dedicated thing. And next time, you guys are going to have to really actually, well, we didn't even get a chance. Maybe you were tweeting, but, Skype us, call us on our landline. We'll be giving that out next week before we go on the air, because if you've got any questions, it'll be great to have the interaction. Ryan, when's the next race? Canada, right?
Canada, and that's when supposedly the new tires are coming.
2 weeks from now?
It should be in 2 weeks from now. I don't think they can make it to the US in a week.
Yeah, and I always ask, Shanghai was 3 weeks away from Malaysia. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, wow, geographically they're so close. And they said that's the time it takes to clear customs, which is the time to reverse engineer the car. Basically, they need 3 weeks to take pictures, and then you'll see by next year they'll have
so it's going to be
F1.
It's going to be so it's going to be in June 9, and it's very interesting because supposedly that's when Pirelli will introduce the new tires. Personally, I'm not surprised that they said, okay, we'll introduce it by Canada, because it is a very harsh circuit in terms of tire degradation.
It is at high speed, that one.
Right.
It's like a Monza of the North America, right?
So if people complain in Catalonia, people are really gonna throw a fit in Canada if things don't improve.
And Canada's always great for it's always a fantastic race. I really enjoy that. The Wall of Champions. Anything can happen there, when anything can happen in any race. But we saw that thing with Alonso before. That's where Perez got the better of him the first time? Was it second place? Overtook him.
Sorry, I can't remember.
3 years ago. Anyway, all right, so that's all we have time for. Thanks very much for joining us. This has been Counterflow. We're here Beyond the Box, the NMF Network. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and of course with those magnificent downloads, up to 20,000 now every show. So we hope you continue to spread the good word, and next time we'll be expecting to hear from you. Till then, drive safely, everyone.
Bye.